Hello there, my name is Chang, I'm always climbing, and in this video I want to talk about how to acquire strong fingers that are very resistant to getting injured. I would like to start off at the base of absolutely zero finger strength, so really good if you're new to climbing and you don't really know where to start, and then I'll slowly build it up to the point where you don't necessarily need to hangboard anymore. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Remember, strength is never a weakness. It is always good to have some strong ass motherfucking fingers. Though, if you don't have it, we have something known as a hangboard. The great thing about hangboarding is it allows you to train your fingers symmetrically in a nice controlled environment where you're not jumping about and reaching to uneven ledges. All these ledges are nice and even. Therefore, the first question is, what size edge should you use? And the answer is 20 millimeters. Why? No grand particular reason besides it's just a nice comfortable edge that is about one pass worth, and it's just a good starting base and probably the only edge size that you really need to train with, to be honest. However, the important thing about using 20 millimeter edges is if you're new to climbing, everything feels small, even 20 millimeters. However, 20 millimeters to me feels like a pull-up bar. And in order for you to also make it feel more like a pull-up bar, you need to actually hold that edge more often. The more you hold the edge size, the more comfortable you will become with it. And in order to hold it more often, we're gonna implement a very simple hangboarding protocol. What I like about this protocol is it's very easy to insert before you're climbing as a warm-up, or to do it at the end of your climbing session as kind of a bit of a cool down. It's very not strenuous, and the benefits you get from it, especially when you're new to climbing, very nice. It looks something like 5 to 10 sets of 10-second hangs off the 20 millimeter edge with about 60 seconds rest between each hang. If you do it well, it takes less than 10 minutes or a little over 10 minutes if you do 10 sets, though I normally recommend somewhere around 5 to 7 if you're newer. If you're unable to do the hang with both of your feet off of the ground, then fret not. All you really need to do now is keep your feet on the ground and sag as much weight as you can into your fingers. While your weight is being sagged into your fingers, and though hanging on a hangboard is indeed classified as an isometric hold, we want to treat it as almost a concentric, where our fingers, whichever hand position you use, don't worry about it now, not super important, go ahead and try to close your hand into a fist. That's going to engage the musculature. Your back, let's try to have it be active. So shoulders down and back and chest slightly upwards. Now a little bit of fun tidbit is, and a bit of a fun exercise that you can do, is just some jump hangs. A jump hang sounds exactly what it sounds like. You grab onto the edge and using a little bit of momentum, you're gonna jump yourself upwards. You're gonna hold it and then you're gonna control your way downwards. If you're doing it that way, I recommend, instead of doing it for time or for say 10 reps, just go ahead and do it for 5 reps. I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate what 2 could look like for you. You're gonna be here, oof. You're gonna be strong, pull up, oof. Recompose yourself, be strong, pull up. What makes jump hang so effective for actually learning how to do a dead hang is it allows you the opportunity to feel what it feels like to have your entire body weight off of the ground and in your fingertips. Over time, the more time you have off of the ground and just hanging on the hangboard, it will accumulate and eventually your body will understand what it's like to support itself on just the fingers with no assistance from the ground. Very good for building up that 10-second hang, or just making it better, or just spicing up your new hangboarding protocol. This hangboarding protocol is something that you should do every time you climb. If you climb 3 times a week, do it 3 times. If you climb 5 times, do it 5 times. The reason why? It is just a way to get you accustomed to holding holds while building a little bit of that very necessary finger strength as a newer climber. Alrighty then. After about 3 to 4 weeks, you're now able to hold it for about 10 to 20 seconds, which is not unreasonable, and it is something I've seen unfold in real time, multiple times to be honest. What should you do now? First off, you should still continue to hangboard if you're confused as to what to do next, because your fingers are still extremely weak by all metrics of standards. But secondly, it is now time to start doing some weighted hangs. The reason why we want to do weighted hangs isn't necessarily to build strong fingers, but it is to condition your fingers to the stress of additional weight. For example, when you are climbing on the climbing wall, and let's say you hit a hold, bow, but the momentum kind of pulls you backwards. That momentum will add additional weight to your fingers, which you don't necessarily get when you're hangboarding on a static fixed ledge in a nice, safe, controlled environment. Therefore, the only way to acquire a stress that is equivalent or higher than the amount of stress that goes into your fingers on the wall, but make it nice and safe and god darn dandy, is by adding additional weight to your person. The hanging protocol will now switch and be a little bit different. Instead of doing 5 to 10 sets, you're just gonna be really looking at about that 5 to 7. Predominantly 5, 7 if you feel freakishly good. You're gonna do 5 sets, and you're gonna do it for a time of approximately 5 to 10 seconds. You could play around in that 5 to 10 second range and find out what number you like. The number I really like has always been 5 or 10, but some people like holding it for 7, 8, 9, 6. Whatever is your number, the point here is that number should be consistent, so you have a variable that you could measure throughout your progress. Whatever weight you add to your person when you first start off hanging, it should be at minimum 45 pounds. That should be the minimum, because you actually want it to feel as if there's a weight on your person when you're doing weighted hangs. So don't go ahead and start doing weighted hangs for 5 pounds or 10 pounds. You might as well just keep doing body weight hangs, all right? So the minimum is 45 pounds if you're a dude, because dudes are a little bit heavier. If you're a girl, 25 pounds. Play ball. You're gonna do your hang for whatever time that you wish for 5 to 10 seconds. After which, we're looking at anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes. Normally, about 3 to 4 minutes, and you should be okay. Now, when you first begin this protocol, I do recommend not trying to find out how much you can actually hang. Not really important right now. Instead, just find a weight that you find to be kind of challenging, but not super challenging. So it might just be a safe bet to just do 45 pounds flat. Next week, 55. Next week, 65. After a month of doing this, then you can go ahead and find out your 1 rep max. Why are we doing that though? You see, when you've never put weight into an exercise or on an exercise before, again, it doesn't have to be weighted hangs, it could be push-ups, bench press, squats, literally anything that has weights to it and you can add on. If your body's not conditioned or used to having external load placed upon it, there's just a higher chance of you getting injured. And honestly, we don't want that. And thus, when you start your weighted hangs, don't try to go as heavy as you can, which brings us into frequency. You're gonna do weighted hangs 2 times a week with at least 2 days of rest between each of your sessions. And now let's say you do climb 5 times a week. Does this mean that you can stop your body weight hanging protocol? And the answer is, you should probably still do those, to be honest. You definitely should. Your fingers are still very weak to the point where you're still gonna see benefits from just hanging on that edge every single day or every time you're climbing. All right then, fast forward to the point where you're now doing this protocol and you're whipping on approximately 90 pounds or 60 to 50-ish% of your body weight for whatever time you designate. If it's for 5 seconds, you could do like 50, 60%, nice. If it's 10 seconds and you could do 40, 50%, nice. All good. Now we have fingers that know what it feels like to be under external load that's way more than your body weight and way more than you probably generate on the wall at any particular climbing point in time. Not always, but most times. And so now we can start to play around with the strength that we have built, which just means we can now do that very fun thing called climbing to get stronger and better at climbing. However, how are we gonna go about it? It's very specific. I made a video on this. I'll put it in the description or something, I'm sure, or like right there in the corner. You're gonna select one particular grip type that you're not very savvy at or good at. The reason why is now we're gonna actually apply the strength that we built in our fingers onto the climbing wall where it actually matters. In order to do this well, we cannot select random climbs. Random climbs are not catered or built for you for training purposes. They are simply just built to be climbed, and they're fun and awesome and cool. However, if you want to train crimps, make sure you create a climb on the systems board, on the spray wall. You have to make it up, preferably on a board like TV2, kilter, moonboard, whatever. And it has all the holes that you want to train on. When you're creating this climb, you want all of those holes to be in close proximity to one another so that reach isn't a factor. In fact, the distance that they are apart from one another does not even really matter. It could literally be, this is one hold, and then the next one's here, and then the next one's here, and then the last one's here. 4 crimps in a row. The only important thing here is you have to go here, 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 match, and you can't just skip holds, because this is a training problem for you to build very applicable finger strength on the wall. You're gonna create a problem or multiple problems that have you moving through approximately 10 hand sequences or hand moves, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure you're actually moving somewhere and you're not just going in a circle. I'm just moving here because I'm standing here for this purpose. And in that way, now you're practicing the act of climbing while constantly having your fingers, hand loaded in the position you want it to be trained in. It's gonna allow you to try very hard from slightly different angles. And again, the applicability to climbing is sky high. It would be at around this point in time where your finger strength is very good for your level of climb. And then you can go ahead and either continue to train your fingers off the wall by doing more weighted hangs, or if you're strong enough, you can start switching to one-arm hangs, or you could do some no hangs, pulling weight off of the ground. Or you could go the opposite approach, where instead of doing problems that are just semi-hard for you on the wall, you could do what I'm currently doing, where I set up a project that's gonna take me approximately 10 to 15 sessions to do, and it's comprised of nothing but holds that I want to get really good on. I think both methods are very valid. I think my method of projecting a climb with nothing but holds you want to improve on is way more applicable because it's actual climbing, but the choice is yours. That was it for the video. Now you know.